budgets keeps going up and up and up. I've heard numbers from cities that of their total operating expenditures, special ed, which was about 12% when I was on the board last time, is up around 25–30% of their expenditures. So you don't present that, or is that in another division, or what? Because that seems to be, at some point you've got, as you pointed out in the beginning of this, you've got this civil rights law, which gives these automatic rights, and then there's no concern for the overall budget in this game, so this is a group that's insulated, if you will, from the fiscal changes, and it just goes up and up and up.
Well, it certainly could. I believe have received or will receive a white paper that the board commissioned from AIR. And in that paper, I've reviewed it a number of times with the author. Basically, California is a very efficient state. Our special ed cost as percentage compared across the nation is really quite low. Unfortunately, our general ed expenditures are also quite low. Some of the increase that you see when you use the term encroachment, which is the common vernacular, is really not so much an increase in special ed costs, but a declining revenue stream overall. Special ed remains constant, general ed goes down, the encroachment by definition would have to go up. So that's part of the explanation. The other part is we have students with more significant disabilities. Yeah, the cost does go up some. But the reality is it's a right, it's an entitlement. You cannot consider cost in the terms of placement. But in spite of all that, California is really quite efficient in the expenditures. And I could certainly bring that back to you at a later time. It's not part of the annual performance report, so I'd want to space it out into a different point in time so as not to overwhelm the board all at once with that data as well. Or I could come present whenever Tom comes to present on his white paper. I'd be happy to join him.
Tom Parrish, yeah, let's do that. Okay, any other questions from the board at this point? If not, we have some public comment or something.
The speakers, Darlene Anderson, Doug McRae, and Walter Richardson.
Good afternoon, Darlene Anderson. I find it really interesting that was the piece of the committee in the state of California that's supposed to be the oversight piece. But from my understanding, when I thought about implementing what they should be implementing, or children are making progress, there's really no way to measure, because when children have disabilities, each one is different. So everybody has a different provider. When you could just retire and go into the county office of education and get a provider position, there's no measuring how well you're doing that job or if it's even benefiting the kids. But guess what? No one can touch your money. So, it's frustrating. It's frustrating to me because kids with disabilities are not making progress. And we're not ensuring that they graduate. They get a certificate of completion. We're talking about how they get through the system. Yet and still, we're not measuring the overall system's performance. So when you're looking at special ed, and the willful defiance issue, and the number of African American children who are happen to end up in special ed and identified as behavioral issues, you're looking at those kids and they're going to prison. And this is real. FU will get you a prison sentence. $20,000 felony, and you are removed from the schoolhouse, directly to the jailhouse. And our money from general ed funds, $14 million from Sac City, going directly to the law enforcement agency. Come on, let's get real. This board has a job. Its job is to measure performance. Explain to me how you will hold your state staff accountable for ensuring that progress is being measured for all children. I know that I can do it for my child, but I can't do it for the rest of the children. I can advocate for mine. Mine went from far below basic to above proficient, CMA to testing regular. And it can happen, but you better believe it takes hands-on.
Good afternoon, I'm Doug McRae, Tiger Testing Guy from IRA.
I guess that's my bout with the California Department of Education. I do go to board meetings. Many people do not go to board meetings. I may have been the only parent in the room that day that didn't have an interest, didn't have a business, didn't have, something to gain. But that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, this is on my YouTube website too. I guess I have a YouTube page, and I'm going to share this, and then I'm going to share it on Facebook. That's how you do it. And when I get it on Facebook, on my regular Facebook page, because people need to know how media works, basically. Let's see. I'm going to put this in this group that I have going here. I have to go to my home page, and it should come up. It should be the first thing I shared, but it's not there. So I'm going to have to go to my page. It's kind of crazy. And let's see if it popped up on my page. No, it did not come. So perhaps it's going to be there. Gonna have to wait till it gets there, I guess. It takes a long time sometimes, like it's going, I don't know where it's coming from or where it's going. But anyways, it is important to understand the public education system. It is important that you understand what the law requires. Every child is required to go to the public school system, as I was mentioning in the video earlier. And when you get there, because you're entitled to a free and appropriate public education, that's a F.A.P.E. When you get to the public school system and you're showing up, guess what? You have a responsibility to oversee, to ensure that your child is benefiting from that public school system. And if you're not ensuring it, guess what? No one else will. So just don't think that you can show up occasionally, put your child in the system. I can't imagine why someone would give their gift to someone and believe that, maybe if I do it on Twitter, because I do have a Twitter account too, and then if I tweet it, it will show up on my Facebook page. Believe that someone else wants to protect your gift. That's my concern, because they don't. No one's protecting your gift except for you. And if you don't go, guess what? You will not understand if your child's making progress. And I was going to go over the data, because I think it's important to go over the data about just how many kids are really failing in the public school system. Here it is. Popped up on Twitter. Didn't really pop up quite readily on Facebook. But I can put it in a group. Here's the group, and here's the group name. Prison. Public education is a local issue. That's my group. It's a closed group. There it is. What does it all mean? Is it going to take to all of us? Hey, that ought to get a look. Now I post it in the room. There we go. So, anyways, that posted in the room, and that's going to be there. Hopefully. Sometimes they let me post in the room, sometimes they don't. There it is right there. And so, anyone who's in the room, and see, I have 157 members. I don't know if you can see that. Let me just swing over here. Yeah, there are 157 members, but I can say maybe 57 people have been in the room and engaged and will have a desire to know what's in this room. I put everything in here so that you can learn. Life is about learning every day. And I think that we as human beings need to be lifetime learners. But we as African American human beings really need to understand that we are 60-something years out of slavery. And sure, it's all about working hard and doing your best, getting a job and raising a family. But you have to be responsible to ensure that people who look like you have a voice in the services that are happening to people who look like you in the community. And in Sacramento, many African Americans are unemployed or underemployed, let's say that. Underemployed because we are not having the right to oversee programs and services that are supposed to be going to our community. Yet and still, we have a lot of people who think that they know what's great for us. And you know what I call that? I call that the plantation. I call that the existence of the continued enslavement of an African people. when African people or people of African descent do not have the ability to ensure and oversee and measure and monitor programs and services that are going to their community, then they are without a voice. Now that is the Tea Party movement that should be in the black community. Representation, taxation without representation. So we are not represented in this issue, in this fight. We need to be represented. We need to have a voice. We need to ensure that the dollars that are being allocated in our community are benefiting our community. Now here's this complaint that I uploaded to the site that I had done, prisoner jobs. And I sent this to the California State Attorney General's office. You can see that. Let me just zoom in, out, whatever. I better zoom up. There we go. So you know where it went. And if you just inbox me, I will gladly provide you a copy of it. But it is about Prop 209. They say citizen to a free and appropriate public education. Yet, public policies have been implemented that target your group of people by ethnicity and make your group of people willfully defiant. But no one can look at that because it's a racial issue. Even though it is a disparate impact because it has to do with who is providing that service. And if they see that they have the ability to provide the service, because when they see that they cannot provide the service and they are not benefiting you, then they try to sweep you under the rug. No one wants to have that type of responsibility to ensure that a benefit happen for a people that they do not know how to serve. So here we are, some 150 years from the Emancipation Proclamation, another some 60 plus years after the Brown versus the Board of Education, and we are in a public system. We are integrated into a system that provides no services to us, or too many services to us. What must I say? The services provided are to us and not for us. They are to ensure that the people who always had the ability to provide the service, meaning the plantation owners, continue to provide their services. And that you, as a people, cannot stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, this is not working for me at all. Because when you, as a people, stand up and say it's not working for you, quite frankly, they don't have to listen to you. Because the voters of California have voted under Prop 209 that they do not have to listen to you. And then what kind of happened after 209, in the 90s, the late 90s, I would say Sacramento City Unified School District passed its own policy in regards to student attendance and open enrollment. And their policy said that the superintendent of Sacramento City Unified School District and its administrators get to determine by race where students attend a public school in regards to maintain racial balance. Now, what do you think about that? What is racial balance? What is a racial balance in a community? That means moving students around. Everybody knows this district concaps, yet and still there is not a legal terminology for concapping in the education system or in the legislation. I looked for it. And then I finally got a piece of policy from the Sacramento City Unified School District that tells me what concapping is. But really it is, the district has the ability to move children when there are 2 or 3. And I do mean 2 or 3. And it's above the teacher's contract. But the district utilized that policy, and really, you cannot determine how many children are being moved around. Since you look at Bear Flag, and I remember when they closed Bear Flag, I remember being told that they had 19 different schools busing children into Bear Flag to maintain the racial balance in Bear Flag. And that's what I'm talking about. That's what racial balance looks like in Sacramento City Unified School District. Putting children in poverty on the bus for 50 minutes or more to ensure that enough funds would go to support a school that did not have enough Title I children. Title I children are looked at as revenue, and many of these schools in the more affluent neighborhoods, in order to maintain the programs, need revenue, and therefore they need the children. And so when we look at racial balance in the board policy that affects children in poverty, there is truly an effect when you look at Sacramento as to what has happened over time of the district's creation of policies that affect people of color, especially African American people of color, how they move children with disabilities, how the district has been violated basically the rights of children of color, especially African Americans. Because in the district, in Sacramento City Unified School District, African Americans are scoring below special needs kids, many special needs kids in the district. So we are the lowest performing students. And there is something here that I would like to show you too, because it is on I've posted it in this room too, because there is going to be a workshop held. There was a book, basically a small book produced by Phil Cerna, and the County Board of Supervisors, and they did a presentation on, here it is, let's preview it, a presentation on the infant death mortality rate in Sacramento. And quite frankly, African Americans are at the highest of every ethnicity when it comes to infant death mortality. Why are the children dying? I'll tell you why the children are dying, especially African Americans. Because they're in the most uneducated group in Sacramento County. And so we don't need a blue ribbon commission to say that if you don't educate a group of people, then they soon die off. Let's see when this is going to be. Well, we need your input. 5:30 to 6 to 7:30. April 1st, it's going to be at the Greater Sacramento Urban League, 3725 Marysville Boulevard. The next one, April 2nd, Paratransit on Florin Road. And the next meeting is April 4th, St. Paul Baptist Church on 14th Avenue. Now that's a huge church. I would like to know, ensure, and hope that the pastor decide to reap the harvest that day, to try to understand why African Americans are dying at such alarming rates. But since we don't know that our children are failing in the public school system, there's quite a link to the failure and the death rate and the incarceration rate of the public school system. African Americans have a right to benefit and to oversee, to monitor, to ensure that its children are making beneficial progress, are thriving in a community where they live. The whole purpose of Sacramento, I watched it over the years since I graduated in 1976, how they quickly eliminated the ability for African American peoples to come together, to mingle, to socialize, to network. And this is the greatest opportunity since the 70s to network and monitor basically public services to our community. It is our responsibility. We hold a responsibility. If we are Americans, as we are Americans, we hold a responsibility to ensure and maintain governance over our peoples. Yes, we elect people that would represent us, but we need to hold our elected officials accountable to ensuring that our people benefit too. Most people will say that, well, I'm not political. I don't go to those political meetings. I don't have time. Well, it doesn't really matter, because what you don't have time for eventually encroaches in your box and it starts making time for you. People watch people all the time. I'm sure I'm being watched, but quite frankly, I'll probably be watched till the day I die. And then after, because I know that I have left a footprint on the internet. And as long as I have a footprint on the internet, my children will have a footprint on the internet, and they will know how important media and content is. This is content. This is what content is called. This is how the new marketing is happening. The new dollars are coming into our community by ownership of content. Content is you. You making something meaningful. You educating other people. This is critical. It's critical that we understand what we need to do to ensure that our people have a benefit, and engaging our children, engaging our youth. So when our youth get out of high school, that they should be going into the community. They should have public service opportunities to go into the community, to find out what the community's needs are, to report back to city council members or to report back to Congress members to ensure that they understand the need in our community. We don't need people to document that we have more poverty or just more children not making progress. We need to ensure that it is us. We need to ensure that it is us, that we all pick up the baton, that we all participate, and somehow, one way or another, that we make a difference.
Some study, children with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, often develop other mental health problems later in life. The study also shows they are more likely to commit suicide. Reaction from a California child education advocate who says oftentimes these children are ignored as they go through school, and that's the problem.
I believe that the system does work, but I believe that it requires everyone's oversight to ensure that people are just not being allowed to just push kids through the system without the proper support.
California child education advocate Darlene Billups Anderson.
This is what we have to understand about the public education system. It is to ensure that a child has the ability to, have a meaningful life. And special education laws are basically there to govern that support strategies. And it really does work. If you do an assessment on the child and you give the child what they need, then they can be productive and inclusive in the public society. But a lot of times, the school system focuses on the negative, which is the tolerance issue. And when children don't behave, they put them in isolation, put them in in-house suspension.
Billups Anderson knows firsthand that parents, as well as teachers and administrators, have a part to play in advocating for their special needs children.
I had 2 children that were special needs, and so I was forced to step up and understand how to ensure that my children were being successful in the public school system.
According to the National Center for Health Statistics, 3 to 7% of school-age children have ADHD. African American children have the highest prevalence. The problem is compounded by the fact that school discipline policies, some linked to ADHD, are pushing students out of the classroom and into the criminal justice system at alarming rates, a phenomenon known as the school-to-prison pipeline. Billups Anderson urges parents to advocate for their special needs child and to understand the laws that are there to help.
Parents are not born, as they say. Parents are educated along the way. And if you didn't get it yourself, it's really pretty difficult to say that you know how to get it.
California education advocate Darlene Billups Anderson. Kim Lampkins, AURN.com.
That was a quick...
According to a recent study, children with ADHD, attention...
That was a quick radio, quote-unquote, little thing that I got to have the opportunity to be interviewed by a national radio station. Well, I think this is the end of my blog for today. I'm going to try to get it uploaded and put it on my Facebook page and put it on my YouTube page and wait to see if people are concerned about just what we're doing in the public school system and what's happening to African American children and why. Many people ask me, or when I talk to them, they say, well, how come I don't know what's happening? And you don't know what's happening because the data. What is data? What does data look like? Data looks like, I want to show you, because I think it's in my Google Docs, in my Google Drive. I have to go to my Google Drive. When going to the Google Drive, and we're going to have to look at a presentation that the district did. When to release it wouldn't be there. It'd be this business. I think this is the one. Business and personnel. He's going to talk about just where the kids are. And I'm saying, wow, could it really be that, you know, it is, you know, is it going to be here? I'm not exactly sure. Maybe not on this one. This is a real rule of attendance. You know what? If you want this information, I would say inbox me. Or email me at Darlene, D-A-R-L-E-N-E, Anderson, _Anderson, A-N-D-E-R-S-O-N, number 45, at yahoo.com. Because it's important to understand how to read the data, what the data means. And here we go. Goodness. This is the number of special ed kids, the percentage. I'm not going to... Number of socio-economic, all students. And I don't think that that's going to be the one. I'm going to have to look at one that actually talks about how well the district thinks it's doing. And usually, you know, they say, well, we came up 2%. And I'm saying, wow, what is 2% when you were at 7? What does 2% look like in the African American community when you don't even have 50% of the children that are, you know, making adequate progress? Here is the recent March 21st. I want you to see that, because you can go on the district's website and actually download this. And you can go on Sacramento City Unified School District Governing Board page at the website, and then you can go into board meetings, and they have it set up really nice. They have the presentations on what was done, you know, that night. And this is what was alarming to me. I'm going to get down here to this page, because I believe that I'm just going to keep scrolling till you see it. They're trying to say that they've done family workshops, and I'm saying, well, okay, you've done some workshops. It's not coming up. What's happening? Wow. Okay, here we go. Takes a while. That's the board agenda. This is something that Carl Pinkston and Darren White is doing. Talks about zero tolerance. I was trying to figure out what was that. And talks about, you know, that what everyone should know about zero tolerance in the law. And there is no zero tolerance. When you're a special needs kid and child and been identified as having a disability, as the district would identify you, you have a right to a positive behavior support plan. And what that looks like is that they do a functional analysis on you, and that they try to keep you in where you're at, basically, providing support to redirect behaviors. It doesn't mean that they label you and put you in a program somewhere. But yet and still, this is what the district is doing, and this is how I feel the district is violating children's due process rights, because we're talking about due process in the law, and every child has a right to a positive behavior support plan. And anyways, here we go. Let's look at this data. It's frightening. This is what is frightening. I gotta get up close here. See that count? 2,025. That's the number of children under contract. 2,000. What is it right here? I'll go up a little bit right there. See that 2,458? That's the number of children on a behavioral expulsion violated contract. That's the number of people that are on contracts, my people. Total number of contracts. Let me see. Slide that over there. Total number of contracts. That means contracts. That means you're on a contract now. You're not getting a F.A.P.E. This is something different. It's a behavior contract. And I don't know what the contract consists of, but it is negotiation of behaviors. And then if you violate it, then there are punishments. That's what it means. So this means to me that you're not in an educational setting anymore. You're in a contract, like you're in juvenile hall or something. It's not the public education system. It's a precursor to prison. That's what I see it as. Let's see. I'll scroll down a little bit more. So that, you see that? 1,742. This year is the first year that they did not show ethnicity. Oh, here we go. Let me take that back. They're still showing ethnicity. 34.8% of the children on contract of the 34.8% of the what? 2,400 children plus are African American. Now think about that. What is 34% of 2,000 and something? And 37% of Hispanics. So if we look at it that's more than 60, almost 70% of the children on contract for behavior in the Sacramento City Unified School District are on a contract based on behavior. So they're not getting a FAPE anymore. They're just not getting a FAPE. That is a free and appropriate public education. What they're getting is a contract to determine what level of services that they're going to have. And as you know, because special education is not an encroachment, and they cannot look at the cost of determining the level of support when you're special needs. And a FAPE is a free and appropriate public education. There's no idea what the district has determined. I believe it's a minimum. I don't even believe it's a minimum. I believe it's just something to determine that they still get the money. But it's not about your child. So I don't know about the dropout rate for children with disabilities. I don't know about the dropout rate for the children who've been placed in these programs. But I know that it is our responsibility as a community to come together to figure out what is happening. Why is it that? And I believe that our community members can provide a better level of service to our children who would have been identified as having behavioral issues. And it is not the community partners that the district has chosen to be their partners in, in a process that is denying these children a proper education. So, like I said, if you'd like to call me, I'd love to talk. 916-541-9681. Or you can email me, Darlene Anderson _Anderson45 at yahoo.com. I will be doing more videos over time, attempting to give a better look at the system so that people understand what the public system is. Why is it that our children are being identified as alternative children, people? And if you even look up here, the number of kids who actually went to the Juvenile Justice Center that they're educating is only 30. We have 89 students in foster youth. Let me see if I can swing that in there. I got to go up a little bit more. Down a little bit more, I guess. Wanted to share these real numbers with you. You see that? Yeah, that's it right there. All right. 492 kids in other programs, and I don't know who the other is. That's 500, almost 500 kids, and 256 kids in special ed, and we really don't know the numbers. But this is all a board presentation 9.6. I think the board presentation was 9.6, and it would just happen on the March 21st board meeting. Anybody can download that at Sac City's website. I would encourage people to start becoming familiar with the data tools, the tools that will enable you to really understand what's happening in our community, understand why we have such a high infant death mortality rate in Sacramento, attempt to understand why our children are not being educated in the public school system, and come together as a community so we can publicly talk about the failure rate and perhaps who else we can bring in to help monitor and oversee the process of public education system in Sacramento. Or perhaps how we can come together and file a lawsuit against Sacramento City Unified School District for its destruction of a people in Sacramento. Anyways, y'all have a nice day, and I'm going to go for now. So, like I said, stay engaged always.